friends, welcome back to Food Prep Guide. It is June, so it's time for another garden tour. It's an overcast day, and it feels fantastic. It feels like it's 70 degrees out here, which is rare, and I'm really excited to get out in the garden and do it on this really nice, not blaringly hot day. So, in the garden, we have a lot going on. I want to talk to you about some issues that I faced. I want to talk to you about some things that are ready to harvest, signs that it's ready to harvest, and just give you a general overview of the progress that is going on in the garden. Let's get started. If you would like help planning a productive garden, scroll down to the description box of this video and click this link for a free garden printable. We calculated quantities for a year's supply of the most common garden vegetables and organized them into a neat chart to help you plan. We'll send it straight to your inbox. If you're new here, we invite you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming tutorials on gardening and food preservation, food storage, and more. Okay, let's start right off the bat with our green stalk, it just has bush green beans and these micro tomatoes. The micro tomatoes are growing beautifully. These are orange hat tomatoes from Baker Creek. They only get to be about 18 inches tall, and they're doing great so far. Oh, we have blooms. I did not see those blooms. That's awesome. So we've got blooms coming on. My bush green beans are looking okay. Every single year, I get sun scald really bad on my bush beans. It doesn't happen on my pole beans. It only happens on my bush beans. I really don't understand it. I'm coming out here and turning my green stalk each day. I don't really know what else to do. So if y'all have any tips for me on sun scald on your green beans, I am all ears. As far as my concern level about it, I'm really not that concerned. What I have found is that the plant outgrows the sun scald just fine. So you can see these leaves have some sun scald on them, but as you can see, the bush is getting bigger, nice deep green leaves with no issues. So the bush beans tend to outgrow those issues. So I'm not too terribly concerned about it, but I would really like to fix it. It doesn't happen with the pole beans, only the bush beans. I don't get it. I had some extra orange hat tomatoes that I didn't have room for, and I just put them in these gallon-sized old vinegar jugs, and I'm really interested to see if it can sustain the growth for the entire life cycle of this plant. You can see there's lots of blooms on there already, and I don't know, I think it might be fine to grow in this gallon-sized pot. They are micro, so we'll see. The corn, as you can see, is looking great. I'm already wishing I planted more. I'm going to, in the past, I have only averaged 1 ear per stalk, and from what I understand, the max that you can expect is like 2 ears per stalk, which I thought I was doing something really wrong by only getting 1 ear per stalk, and it's just not going to be all that much. I think I have maybe 30 stalks growing, but I don't know. Oh, it's tasseling! Look at here. So one thing that I've learned about corn is that once it starts tasseling, I can go through here, and once it gets a little bit more mature, I'm not going to do it just yet, but once these tassels get a little bit more mature, I can come in here with a piece of newspaper and shake these, and I don't know what it is, honestly. It falls off. I don't know if it's the pollen, or I don't really know what it is. Actually, I've never researched it before, but something shakes off of these little things, and then I can come and put it onto another tassel and shake them onto this tassel, and it helps to pollinate and you know, produce more of the corn cobs. So I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna wait till they get a little bit more mature. This is the first time I've even noticed that they have tasseled. I didn't even notice that they had tasseled, so that's fantastic. There's Garden Kitty doing his garden work. Here's the cabbage. And his garden work, by the way, is just demanding belly rubs. That's all he does. He follows me around and lays on his back and demands belly rubs this whole walk. That's what he's going to be doing. Yep. Okay, so here's the cabbage. Very close to being ready to harvest. So one way that you tell if cabbage is ready to harvest is just to squeeze that head, and if it's nice and hard, it's ready to harvest. This one is ready to go, but I would like to wait until some others are so this one right here, you can see it's getting a good size, but when I squish it, my hands go in, and it gives, so it's not quite ready yet. And I have some other, oh my goodness, I have some other, I can't even with you. I can't even with you. I have some other cabbage that are much smaller, so I would like to give these just a couple, maybe 2 more weeks, but I really don't know if I can handle that. Well, I don't know if the cabbage can handle that because it is getting very hot here. Cabbage is a cool weather loving crop, so I might end up having to pull these this weekend. Yeah, that's just really not ready. They really got a little bit more growth in them. So, see, I told you. There where I go. Okay, so here is our pepper row. Oh wait, look, we have zinnias that have bloomed. Let me give you a just quick rundown of the flower wall. It is less than spectacular, but that's okay because we're still very early in the season. You can see the blue borage is really showing off, and the pollinators are absolutely loving it. Here's a bumblebee doing its thing. There are bees all over this borage. So if you are wanting to bring pollinators to your garden, I highly recommend the borage. They have just absolutely loved it. But the zinnias are just now sprouting, just now blooming, I mean, not sprouting. But you can see lots of little buds. I'm going to allow the zinnias to get a little bit taller, and then I'm going to top them. And what that means is it's going to start shooting off flower stems like up here, and it's going to look no longer very bushy, and I'm going to come and cut the stems right above a top layer of leaves, and that will encourage more buds to shoot out from the sides and for the plant to become bushier and not necessarily tall and leggy. So that's what I'm going to be doing soon, probably maybe 2 or 3 weeks out, I don't know. I had all different colors, so this is a beautiful vibrant pink. I love that peachy color. I've got some oranges, I've got some yellows. I had almost none of my sunflowers have sprouted, which I'm really sad about. And I'm kind of wondering if maybe the sunflowers and the gladiolas were not compatible. I have heard that the gladiolus has some like allopathic properties to it where it can stunt the growth of plants around it, which I didn't know that when I planted it. And I'm wondering if maybe that's what happened, because sunflowers, they do that too. They have some allopathic issues, not issues, but some things with the soil where it will stunt the growth of the items around it. So I don't know, we'll see. I'm still deciding if I want to re-sow those sunflowers or not. Okay, back to the pepper row before I got distracted by the beautiful flowers. Peppers are looking fantastic. I have been coming through here and actually pinching off the buds ever since they've been here. They have been trying to already put on fruit, and I don't want the plant to put on fruit when it's at this size. See this? See this bud right here? Look at that, that's a baby fruit. The plant is barely a foot tall, and I don't want it putting on fruit at this stage. So I've been coming through here, and as painful as it is, I've been pinching these off. But I do have some plants that are getting 2 feet or taller, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and let those bud and set fruit. You can see there's plenty of fruit set going on, even on these lower branches. So I'm just going to leave the really tall ones. I'm going to stop pinching those, but I still have some peppers that seem a little stunted that I'm still going to be pinching off, like this one right here. Look at this. It's like, what, 7, 8 inches tall. And I'm continuing to pinch off the fruit on that one. I had some peppers down here that were just getting absolutely attacked by flea beetles. So I just took some of my tulle fabric and draped it over, and they are finally getting some height on them. They were just getting nibbled down. And just too much pressure, but the tool seems to have helped. See, look at this one, trying to put on a piece of fruit right there, and it's not even 6 inches tall. So I'm going to go ahead and toss that one off and get that covered again. I need to do some weeding right there too. These are California wonder bell peppers down here. And we have, this is our herb row. We have dill here. And this is the only one that has bushed out really well. This one's starting to take off, but these 2 holes right here only have a few sprigs. But I think I'm going to be able to get all I need for our pickles from that little bush right there. We'll see. And then we have our basil, which is looking absolutely beautiful. It's making me dream of pesto. I cannot wait. But basil, and then parsley. The parsley is looking absolutely beautiful. I have had some parsley. Let me see if I can find an example. well, I've been staying on top of pulling off the parsley leaves, so I don't have a whole lot of good examples here, but we have, excuse me, dude, get your tail out of my face. Okay, so I've had a lot of parsley leaves. I think what might be happening is they're falling and then maybe like getting burned, maybe from the heat of this weave fabric. I'm not 100% sure. It's my first year with the weave fabric, but that kind of seems to be what's happening. So I've just been coming through here and picking off the lower leaves, and ever since I started doing that, the plants have really bushed out and greened out and just been doing fantastic. So that's what I've been doing to take care of those. And this forest right next to me is the bean row. Domino's finding something underneath there. Let's see, let me give you a good view of the bean row. These are all black beans. And like I mentioned in a previous garden tour video, I am just letting the black beans do their thing. They are getting eaten up with weeds, but I'm not going to concern myself with it because there are 400 holes here. And there's no way I'm going to sit there and hand weed 400 little holes. So beans don't need a whole lot of babysitting, so it is what it is. The cantaloupe has finally taken off. I was concerned about it for a while. It seemed like it wasn't really doing a whole lot, but it has finally taken off. I was considering reseeding because they really just weren't looking good, but they're looking fantastic now. This is a new to me variety this year. It's an Indian cultivar that is drought tolerant and extremely heat tolerant, which cantaloupes are heat tolerant already, but this one is like extreme heat tolerant compared with the drought conditions, which I think is going to do good in my climate here. This is new, I think. I don't think this was here during the last garden tour. I decided at the very last second to go ahead and put up a horizontal trellis. I'm laughing because I told myself I wasn't going to do this. I told myself I was going to leave from here all the way there. I was going to leave it completely open so I could get a really early start on the fall garden. And here I go, planting more tomatoes. But I came across an excellent deal that I could not refuse. A local farmer was selling their tomato flats for $20 for a whole flat, and there were about 30 tomatoes per flat. So just an excellent deal. 30 tomato plants for $20. I could not pass that up. And these are celebrity tomatoes, which from what I understand is a fantastic tomato. It was one of the American, what's it called? American something Society's award winners for best tomato. They are disease resistant. It is a hybrid. I am growing hybrids this year for the first time. Oh, there's some blooms. And it is a determinate, which I have pretty much only grown, other than my cherry tomatoes, I've pretty much only grown indeterminate tomatoes. So I'm having to continue to remind myself, do not prune. Do not prune these tomatoes. I'm having to remind myself of that. You do not want to prune determinate tomatoes other than the bottom leaves. So for instance, I did have some stalks. You can see it where I cut off here, here, and here, just to keep them off the ground. So that's fine. But other than that, you don't want to prune your tomatoes like you would your indeterminates. Okay, so as you can see here, just a whole bunch of weeds because I pulled out my onions. The onion harvest was fantastic. We are working on a video on harvesting and preserving onions. It might already be posted at the time of this one is posted. I'm not sure, but keep a lookout on that one. It's going to be a really fun video. We're going to preserve the onions 5 different ways and show you all the different ways that we are putting them up this year. And I'm just really excited about it. So here on this trellis, the tomato trellis is actually the far one over there, but I did have some extras that I wanted to grow more of the Brandy Boy hybrids this year because from what I understand, they just are star performers for my climate. And even though we are tripling the amount of tomatoes that we're doing this year, I still feel like it's not going to be enough. I know how many tomato projects I have planned for canning to last the whole year. And I just know I'm going to need more. So I went ahead and plopped some more tomatoes there. But the vast majority of tomatoes are on the other trellis. These are the last of our sweet peas. It is way too hot for sweet peas right now. They are a cool living crop, so they are dying back as expected, and they were lovely snacks while they lasted. Okay, womp, womp, womp. Look at my salad garden bed. Not fantastic. So the issue that I ran into was the I started noticing major slug and snail issues. When I had the shade cloth here, that's what that black stuff is there. I had it on these hoops, and I thought, you know, this is the way that I'm going to protect and lower the temperature and let these greens last longer. What happened was that seemed to invite the slugs and snails. Just, I mean, they were terrible. So I had to put down Sluggo, and it created mold all over the top layer of soil. And it took almost 3 weeks of the shade cloth being off in order for all of that mold to go away. So now the mold is gone. We are officially past that point. I'm going to know that moving forward, and I have reseeded. You can see where it's really patchy here. I have reseeded from about here to that white little thing right there. I've reseeded all that. We're going to be growing more Swiss chard, which is heat tolerant, and I'm growing more of this Metacule. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but this has done beautifully for me. It was one of the free seed packets that Baker Creek sent me. I did not even, you know, want this, but they sent it to me as a free seed packet, and I am so glad they did, because it has done absolutely beautifully for me. It is the first week of June, and it is just now bolting from being planted in February. So bolting, when lettuce bolts, you will notice that it starts getting really tall and spindly. So here's the stem way down there, and you can see how it's just getting really tall and narrow and coming to a head right here. And if you look closely in here, you can start seeing little seeds forming. That's bolting. So the lettuce is going to seed. I'm going to come through and harvest all of this, and I'll be combining it with my kale back there, and this will feed us for probably about 2 weeks. And hopefully in those 2 weeks, that will give it time for all of these to get bigger, and time for the Swiss chards and the other heat-loving greens to start sprouting and be getting ready for harvesting within the next 4 weeks or so. So that's that. The green beans, the pole green beans, are doing beautifully. They're already going up and over the trellis, as you can see. And it's just astounding to me that we are in the first week of June and they're already that tall. The tomatoes, there's not a tomato planted right there actually. The tomato is planted on the other side of that trellis about a foot away, and it has already taken over and come through here. But that's okay, because the green beans are helping to feed the tomatoes nitrogen, which is why I planted green beans on the other side of my tomatoes. That's called companion planting. We can use that to our advantage to feed our plants, to lower pest pressure, and all of those things. We do have companion planting garden plans. They are already laid out for you to show you where to plant what, how to do your spacing. We have 10 themed plans, like a salsa garden and a salad garden, and if you dehydrate, a garden specifically that for foods that really dehydrate well. But anyway, that will be linked in the description box below and on the end screen at the very end of this video if you are interested in checking those garden plans out. Next, we have our watermelon. It's doing pretty good. Watermelons always start off really slow for me, and I don't know if that's typical, but these are sugar baby watermelons, and let's see, the tallest one is that's probably the tallest one, but they're planted on this side, and all the trellises are mirrored on this side. So everything that's on one side is on the other. So next is cucumbers. These short ones right here are our snacking cucumbers for my children, and then the really tall bushy ones are my pickling cucumbers. They are growing so much faster than the snacking variety, which is interesting. The snacking variety, I did Muncher on one side and Bayet Alpha on the other. And then for the regular pickling cucumbers, I did, oh, there's a decent sized cucumber already. Look at there. He'll be ready in probably, I don't know, maybe 4 days. 3 or 4 days, he'll be ready for picking, and I bet you there's a whole lot more hiding up under that, all that greenery. The kale's doing fantastic. Kale is a cool loving crop, but I tell you what, it handles the heat too. I don't know. I mean, it keeps going and keeps going, and it is a fantastic way to supplement our salad greens during the heat of summer. Next is, these are mustard greens. We have a harvesting and preserving mustard greens video coming up. It might be posted already, I'm not sure, but check that out. We're going to can those up together and get those preserved up and get that bed ready for carrots that will go in at the end of July. Over here, these little speckled plants here, these are all my zucchini rampicante. This is the only zucchini I grow now, because it gives me so much less problems than all the other zucchinis. As you can see, they're a vining variety, You can see we've got a decent sized one there, decent sized one over here. And when you pick them early and green, they taste like zucchini. When you let them go on the vine, let them harden, they taste like a butternut squash. So it's kind of like a 2-in-1 plant, and we absolutely love it. Love, love, love it. Okay, I really got to get those beautiful mustard greens out of the way. They're looking beautiful, but they are kind of making it hard to walk in here and do the pruning and the squash bug picking that I need to do in this area. Okay, let's head on over to our tomato trellis tunnel because I'm pretty excited about what's going on over there. We have some of our cherry tomatoes that look like they might be ready, you know, in a week or two, which is really exciting. I don't know that I've had tomatoes that early before, but the sun gold cherries are apparently a very early maturing variety. Here's they are. Those are the first little, there's a much bigger cluster somewhere over here. Let me see if I can find it. My daughter found it the other day. Oh yeah, here it is. My daughter found this cluster the other day and she's like, Mom, there's so many. So we're excited to taste these sun gold cherries. Man, there's another cluster. There's another cluster there. I'm thinking that we are really going to love these sun gold cherries. There's like I said, just like the other trellis, what's on one side is mimicked on the other side. So this is sun gold cherry here. You can see that cluster. I need to come in here and do some pruning. So that needs to happen pretty soon. So far, I've only been pruning the lower leaves, as you can see here. I've been trying to come up the stem and pruning off the lower leaves, but as you can see, I'm already getting some issues going on. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you see all those brown spots. So I need to come in here and really get going on these prunings. So everything planted on this tunnel is indeterminate tomatoes. So indeterminate tomatoes can handle pretty heavy pruning. They are tomatoes that will grow the entire season and produce fruit the entire season, whereas determinate tomatoes, they produce fruit all at once and then they're done. But everything on this trellis is determinate. These are Brandy Boys, I think. Yep, Brandy Boy tomatoes. They're looking good. I've got some San Marzano down here. This is the garlic bed. We harvested that. We got that video up. So be sure to check that one out as well. But I have some San Marzano that are looking decent over here. Let me see if I can find some. They've been hiding. Oh, there they are. There's some right there. Little cluster forming here. This is my first year growing the San Marzano. It is a winning canning tomato. It's a Roma variety. Oh, wow. Man, I've got to prune. I didn't even see those. Look at that. If I can get all these leaves out of the way. There's a whole cluster over there that are pretty decent sized. Nice. Same thing, San Marzano on that side. Yeah, so this tea garden over here, this is lime basil. Oh, it is so good. I just harvested, I cut these plants down to about here 2 weeks ago, and it has already doubled back in size. And that harvest gave me a full 1.5 pints of freeze-dried, which a 1.5 pints, you know, that's going to last a long time when you consider we only use about a teaspoon to a tablespoon per cup of tea. But this is our tea garden. A lot of stuff didn't sprout. I'm kind of debating, I think it's too late to start from seed. I'm thinking about going to the store and getting some tea herbs, but we'll see. I haven't had much luck from seedlings from the store lately. They tend to not be that great. Okay, so I wanted to show you this. This is parsley that is going to seed. I planted the last of my parsley this year, my parsley seed, which means I need to save seed this year so that I won't have to buy more. The pollinators love it. I don't know if you can see that. Not so much bumblebees, but little, those kind of smaller insects that kind of get overlooked by the bumblebees. But they just absolutely love it. There are some wasps, but hey, they're pretty decent pollinators, so it is what it is. There's one. But they absolutely love it when things bolt. So I'm going to be waiting until each of these seed pods will turn kind of brown and papery. Actually, here's a good example. These are my bunching onions. They are going to seed. You can see how it's brown and papery. and you can see the seeds forming really good, starting to dry out. So I'm waiting for the same thing to happen with these, and I will harvest both bunching onion seeds and parsley seeds, and we'll be good to go for several years. I harvested these garlic chives down to about 6 inches, and they're already bushed out again. It's just amazing how a good rain or a good couple weeks of rain can make a garden grow. Here is our potato patch. I'm really excited to bring you this video. We didn't experiment this year with potatoes. I don't usually like to experiment with our staple crops, but I was in a position where I had to, and I'll explain that on the potato harvest video, but they are ready soon. You can see that some plants are already starting to die back. Some of them are starting to fall over. Some of them are turning yellow and brown, especially this little guy right here. But once I look at this patch, and pretty much the entire patch has like a yellowish brownish hue to it, and they just start looking, well, bad. Once they just start looking bad, that is when I will harvest. These are all Yukon Gold potatoes, and I will probably be harvesting those. I'm probably going to have to do the cabbage next weekend, so these will probably have to wait till the weekend after that, which is fine because that's about 2 weeks. And I think it's going to be about 2 weeks until this patch is ready to harvest anyway. The sweet potatoes are doing beautifully. I don't think I had the sweet potatoes planted during our last garden tour. So we have, he knows I'm coming. I planted them in the wood chips last year. I did an experiment where I planted them only in wood chips, and it did fantastic. And I'm doing it again this year. They are peppered along this entire wood chip bed. There are approximately 50 to 60 sweet potato slips. There's a bag of Miracle-Gro right there. Don't take that as an endorsement. I do not recommend Miracle-Gro. Absolutely stay away from it. Do not like it. But it's the only thing this store had, and the store wasn't going to be able to get any in stock for another week, and I absolutely could not wait another week for these sweet potato slips to get in here. So what I did was I put in just a handful of soil where each sweet potato slip was, just to get it started rooting. So you can see that dark brown, that's where the soil is, and then I just pushed the wood chips up over that. So that's what that Miracle-Gro was used for. Don't recommend it though. So my wood chip experiment with vegetables is going okay. So in case you didn't see the last one, I'm experimenting with growing beans and this tomato right here in only wood chips. I didn't put any soil. I didn't create like a soil pocket. I'm not fertilizing. I wanted to see what would happen if I did absolutely nothing but just put these plants in the wood chips and see what happens. You typically don't want to plant vegetables in wood chips because the wood chips, when they are still not broken down like they are now, they will pull nitrogen from the soil. So you typically want to wait until your wood chips are no longer look like wood chips. But if you dig down just a couple of inches, you will see that underneath just a few inches, it already is really starting to break down nicely. So that's why I decided to just go ahead and test it out this year. I had extra bean seeds anyway. You can see some yellowing, which I'm sure that has to do with the nitrogen depletion from this wood chips, but beans are nitrogen fixers, and we're just going to see what happens. The tomato was really slow to grow. It was stunted for about the first, well, I mean, it still is kind of stunted. Compare this plant to the tomato plants that you just saw. They were planted at the exact same time, so it is definitely stunted, which is gonna, again, it's gonna be that nitrogen issue. But we're gonna see. I just want to see if it's possible to plant in these wood chips yet. They are 3 years old, and 3 years is typically long enough for wood chips to sustain vegetable life. But you know, I just want to check it out with a small experiment before I really went all in. But from here to there is all of our blueberry bushes. They're brand new this year. This is their first year, so they are teeny tiny. And again, they are growing in wood chips, and I'm not doing anything to them. We're just going to let them go and see what happens. But several of the bushes have some fruit set on them. We're not going to be harvesting really much at all from these. We're just going to let them get established, and the birds are probably going to peck off these blueberries anyway. But this year we're really just focused on getting these bushes established. Same thing with the strawberries over there. You can see a little bit of greenery. They are looking really small, really rather puny. But again, we are just getting these roots established and we're not harvesting. In fact, I'm coming through here and picking off all the blooms that I see so that the plant really puts its energy into the roots and not into fruit production. There are about 50 strawberry plants in this area right here, and I am fertilizing with fish emulsion, and hopefully that will bring them through this wood chips that aren't broken down all the way and are going to be depleted in nitrogen. I'm hoping that fish emulsion kind of counteracts that. And since they are nice and green, they are, you know, really small, pretty stunted, but I expected that being in wood chips, but I think it's still going to be the right call planting them here in the long run, doing a back to Eden style wood chip bed with the strawberries. Okay, y'all, that is it for the June garden tour. The next garden tour will be in July, and we will be harvesting pretty significantly at that point. So we'll see y'all then. Bye-bye.